Imagine it's the peak of summer, June 1934, at the bustling railway station in Brighton, England. Amid the sounds of steam trains and holidaymakers, a different kind of scent begins to spread. It's a horrible, sickly sweet odor, coming from an unclaimed trunk in the left luggage office. An attendant, a former soldier named William Vinicombe, catches the smell and freezes. He knows that scent from the battlefields of France, and it means only one thing: death. He immediately calls the police. What they found inside wasn't just a horrific crime, it was the spark that kicked off a nationwide panic. This was the first of the Brighton trunk murders. But it was a second trunk murder, discovered just weeks later, that would cement the town's dark new identity. The popular seaside resort, once known as the Queen of Watering Places, was about to earn a grim new nickname: the Queen of Slaughtering Places. This is the insane story of how two separate killings, committed by two separate killers, made an entire country believe there was a single monstrous murderer on the loose. When Chief Inspector Robert Donaldson from Scotland Yard pried open the first trunk, his worst fears were realized. Inside lay the dismembered torso of a young woman. The discovery triggered a massive nationwide manhunt. The search quickly led to a second gruesome find: a suitcase at King S Cross Station in London containing the victim's legs. But her head and arms were never recovered, leaving the police with a chilling puzzle. The country was gripped by a mixture of horror and morbid curiosity. The case fell to Sir Bernard Spilsbury, a pathologist so famous he was practically a celebrity, considered the father of modern forensics. His post-mortem revealed chilling details. The victim was young, around 25 and about 5 months pregnant. But without key body parts, Spilsbury couldn't determine the cause of death. In an age before DNA, the lack of a head and hands made identification nearly impossible. The press, seizing on one tragic detail from the coroner's report, nicknamed her the girl with the pretty feet because her feet were noted as being elegant and well cared for, like a dancer's. Scotland Yard was stumped. They investigated over 700 missing person cases, a monumental task. In an unprecedented move, they published photos of the trunk in national newspapers, hoping for a lead, but every trail went cold. Police suspected the crime might be the work of a local clandestine abortionist, but there was no evidence to make an arrest. A brutal killer had struck and then, it seemed, had simply vanished into thin air. For weeks, the nameless woman dominated the headlines. As part of their stalling investigation, Brighton police began conducting routine door-to-door searches near the railway station. On July 15th, that search led them to 52 Kemp Street, an unassuming terraced house. They were looking to question the man who lived there, a 26-year-old waiter named Tony Mancini, about his missing girlfriend. But Mancini had vanished. As officers entered his empty apartment, they were immediately hit with that same unforgettable stench of decay. The source was a large black trunk sitting at the foot of the bed. But when they forced this one open, the contents were different, and in some ways, even more shocking. They didn't find another dismembered victim. This body was whole. It was 42-year-old Violette K. Violette, a former dancer with a penchant for drink, had been in a messy, volatile relationship with Mancini. She supported them both through sex work, and their life together was fueled by alcohol and intense jealousy. She was last seen in mid-May, after a furious public argument where she accused Mancini of cheating on her. After that night, she was gone. Mancini told friends she'd packed her bags and left for Paris. He even sent a fake telegram to her sister-in-law to sell the lie. For weeks, Mancini had lived in that small room with the trunk, grotesquely using its cloth-covered top as a coffee table while entertaining guests who complained about the awful smell. With the discovery of a second woman's body in a trunk, in the same town, within the space of a month, public anxiety exploded into a full-blown moral panic. The press went wild, immediately connecting the two murders. The narrative was simple and terrifying. A serial trunk murderer was at large in Brighton, preying on women. The town's cheerful reputation as a sunny holiday spot was gruesomely twisted into its new, macabre title. Tony Mancini, whose real name was Cecil Louis England, became the face of this panic. With a criminal record and a dead body in his room, he was the perfect villain. After a nationwide manhunt, he was arrested near London and charged with the murder of Violette K. But here's the critical twist that the police knew, but the public didn't. Mancini had an ironclad alibi for the time of the first murder. This created a baffling situation. They were dealing with two different killers operating in the same town, using the same bizarre method at the same time. It was an almost impossible coincidence. But to the public, there was only one monster, and the pressure to convict Mancini for everything was immense. Mancini's trial began in December 1934 and lasted 5 intense days. The prosecution built what seemed to be a bulletproof case. They presented the forged telegram, proving Mancini's deception. Friends testified he bragged about giving his missus the biggest hiding of her life. To cap it all off, the renowned Sir Bernard Spilsbury testified that Violette was killed by a powerful blow to the head with a heavy, blunt object, like a hammer. But Mancini's defense was led by Norman Burkitt, one of the most brilliant barristers of his time. Burkitt's strategy was audacious. He sought to dismantle the prosecution's case by creating doubt. He painted a vivid and frankly unsympathetic picture of Violette K as an alcoholic prostitute, suggesting any number of her clients could have been the killer. When Mancini himself took the stand, he delivered the performance of a lifetime. He claimed that he had found Violette already dead and, fearing his criminal record would make him the prime suspect, he had panicked and hidden her body. With tears in his eyes, he told the jury, "I loved her." Burkitt's masterful defense and Mancini's emotional testimony worked. He had created just enough reasonable doubt. After deliberating for just over 2 hours, the jury returned a shocking verdict: not guilty. Tony Mancini walked free. The public was stunned. With his acquittal, both Brighton trunk murders were now officially unsolved. It seemed 2 killers were still at large. For over 40 years, the truth about Violette K's death remained a secret, locked away with the man who had walked free. The case grew cold, becoming a legendary chapter in British crime history. Then, in 1976, the killer himself decided it was time to talk. Tony Mancini, now old, frail, and near death, contacted a journalist from a national newspaper. In a stunning deathbed confession, he finally admitted that he had killed Violette K all those years ago. He claimed that during a furious, drunken argument, Violette had attacked him with a coal hammer. He wrestled it away from her and in a blind rage threw it back, striking her on the temple and killing her instantly. His story was a final, dramatic vindication of Sir Bernard Spilsbury's forensic analysis from 4 decades earlier. Mancini's story was one of domestic rage and panic, not the work of a cold, calculating serial killer. But because of the legal principle of double jeopardy, which prevents a person from being tried for the same crime twice, he could never be prosecuted. Despite his public confession, printed for the world to read, Tony Mancini died a free man. The Brighton trunk murders of 1934 remain one of the strangest coincidences in the annals of crime. 2 women, killed and left in trunks in the same seaside town just weeks apart, sparking a national panic fueled by the false belief in a single, elusive killer. One case was finally solved, not by police work, but by the conscience of a dying man who wanted the last word. But the other half of the mystery endures. The first victim, the pregnant young woman with the pretty feet, is still nameless. Her killer was never found, her full story never told. While the terror that once defined Brighton has faded into history, the identity of the woman in the first trunk remains one of Britain's greatest and most haunting unsolved mysteries. She is a ghost in a brutal tale, a crime lost to time. If you found this exploration into a historical mystery compelling, please consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Cases like these remind us that sometimes the truth can be stranger and more complex than any fiction. Thank you for watching.